Hey, am I not being heard? Can I be heard? I can hear
Yeah,
myself.
I can be heard, and you're live across the
Oh,
internet,
oh, really? Across the entire internet?
the whole
Yep.
internet.
To
Streaming
the
across the
internet.
world.
Well, listen to this internet. Recorded February 21st, 2024. Good afternoon, Brody. Good afternoon, Andrea. Good afternoon, Rod. How's everyone doing?
Excellent.
Dandy.
Do we answer all at once? Because you asked us all at once.
I didn't
He
ask
does
you
it
all at
every
once.
time, and then we all answer
Yeah.
all at once every time.
We should
Great.
have something prepared for next time.
Yeah, I mean,
Should.
it's
We'll
not like I've
practice.
not done this all this time before then. So
We wouldn't know
Uh,
after today.
I didn't know. That's a good point. Rod, what have you been up to other than tolerating me to interrupt your day when you didn't get anything done?
I actually ended up getting things done, and I probably shouldn't admit to this, but I use Copilot a lot today to get my work done. So whoever's listening in, that wasn't me.
Which
It was Microsoft
Copilot,
Copilot.
Rod?
Buy it now.
There's like 26 Copilots. Which one were you using?
How many Copilots did I use today? I used the M365 Copilot. I used Copilot for security, which I can't really talk about. And what else did I use? And that was about it, I guess. Oh no, I tell you what, I did use Edge, and I also did use Copilot in Windows today. So I used 5 Copilots.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. I
Yeah.
attempted to use 5. I got away with 3 today. So, in my own personal subscription, I purchased Copilot. And
Yeah.
once you do that and add it, it's a process where it sets up a totally different billing profile for you. And I set that up. I thought it was odd, but it gives you an indication that it's not being licensed in a manner that regular M365 products are. And then my tenant changed. So when you go into admin.microsoft.com, Copilot is now one of the options on the left. And when you click on it, it brought up all the Copilots inside of a management pane. It's pretty cool. So the first one I immediately see is Copilot for security. So I go into it, click on it, and it says, your administrator has not set up Copilot for security. Please talk to your administrator.
Wonder why.
So you're talking to yourself?
Yeah, and what has happened is they put the management things in the thing without you having a light. You can't get access to it. It's a deadhead, right? But they're showing you what the management things would be. So they had something for 365 Copilot. They had something for Copilot for security, Copilot for data compliance, and something else inside of it. I meant to take a screenshot before this. Maybe we'll do it on the next show. And so someone put in there, actually finding out that in client order, they have 47% of license for Copilot. They're not actually used, so to buy versus actually use just not balance out well. Well, it's like all products, Trev. People buy it and don't do anything with it, whether it be Defender or whatever else. But I like it.
Something we did find out today was that we were using the old version of Outlook and couldn't find Copilot. You have to actually be using the new version of
You
Copilot.
gotta use the new version,
I mean,
and then it
if Outlook-
manifests.
Yeah.
So if you buy it retail, it's $360 a year per license. So I put it in there, ran it through. Trivia question. It's sort of knowing this, and we'll go to you guys. Of the productivity products inside M365, which one will not have Copilot in it? Trick question. Think about all the productivity products inside 365 and saying, which one will not have Copilot in it? And it's because of obvious security reasons.
Publisher.
Oh,
Well, I was going to say publisher just because it's going away, but not for security reasons.
I know the answer, so I'm not going to answer. So go ahead. We should wait till the end. We'll reveal that at the end of the show.
Then at the end of the show. You won't see it.
Submit your answers now. Okay.
Yeah, submit your answers. I'll send you a must learn AI security book for the person that gets it first.
Okay.
In the chat.
Other than that, big shout out to my friend of the show, Trev Stewart. I finally went through the whole VMware thing, and I got all the licenses, and I got my vSphere set up, all the stuff. So I'm on the latest and greatest. So it's a great program. $200 and some bucks. You get every VMware license you need. it's good. I needed it because I'm trying to do some labs, and I don't want to go get no bootleg keys or stuff like that. So I just bought it, everything. So it's really good. If you join the VMware users group, buy the Advantage, it's 200 and some change. You get a 1-year license for everything, all of their products, you name it, is there. So if you're labbing out, it's really, really good. So I did that. I rebuilt my domain controllers yet again. So they all are on the latest, what it was, Windows Server, and I think the other one's maybe a beta
Windows
2025.
Server, does that still come on floppy disks?
It's called Windows Server. That's what it is, and I'm running
You
that.
rebuild your domain controllers a lot, Edward.
Oh, there's
He's-
nothing in there.
I would
You
talk
know,
to your
it's-
administrator.
Yeah,
Frank
well,
virus.
I don't want no. Well, it took forever to clean out Andrea's mess in my environment, so I just got rid of everything.
Yeah.
And yes, that's that thing. His stuff is all over, just malware. So luckily it's
Do not
contained.
listen to him. He is lying to you, but go ahead.
So all that stuff is out of my system now. And I feel better. So it's there. But no, let's just main controller, go spin it. My server has like 100 gig of RAM in it.
Whoa.
Just run, literally 100 gig of RAM. It just runs, and 32 processors.
Whoa.
32 cores.
32.
I think 32. Yeah.
Wow.
They old though. They're Xeon.
Really?
3.1 gigs. They still run. Still runs. But that's all I did this week. What about you, Andrew?
Oh, nothing too exciting. Honestly, I've been working on some security Copilot or Copilot for security use cases to share with customers. It's super interesting. They're like, I don't know what to ask it. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I've got a list for you. So I've been working on that, trying to get this certification thing that I have to get done to get access to the demo environment finished. So I'm slow going on that. And then we had Monday off for President's Day, so it's really been a short week so far.
Yeah, everybody's off.
Nice.
I got client dinner tomorrow, so I'm covering for your boy Andrew B. Lesko. So I'm covering for him on something.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the weather is good, learning is good, and Frank, if you're on the show, don't heckle me.
Yes.
I studied today.
Frank's here.
Is he?
He's
Yes.
already helped you in the chat.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm still in the private chat. No, Frank was mean to me last week. Can you check on his girlfriend? No, man, we've already talked about that yesterday. Day before, we had a good talk. I got a plan.
Does everybody remember what you're studying for? Why don't you remind everybody what you're studying for?
I am studying to obtain the SANS GIAC Certified Forensic Analyst. The exam is the FOR, Forensics 508. It has to be within the top 3 hardest exams that they make, and definitely harder than anything I've taken, even the CCIE. It's we're doing everything wrong. If you think you're a super sophisticated MDE person, you know how to do forensics, you don't. If that's not your job, you don't. We're not using anybody's tools. We're using open source stuff and get down into the groove. I'm looking at processors, DLL side loading, hijacking, super timelines. Like,
Super timelines.
that's the thing. I'm like, dude, I'm out of my water. I'm out of my wheelhouse on this. But learning a lot about it and the tools, Cisternals, Zeus, look, you name it. It's pretty good to see how inadequate some of these vendors, not just MDE, all of the products are inadequate. SentinelOne, CrowdStrike, Palo, MDE, they're inadequate on their own to do a true forensics investigation when the issue's gone to the fan. And you cannot capture the stuff necessary to find out exactly what you're trying to do, because they're not made for that, right? They're made for detect and
Time to
protect.
remind you all that this podcast is not officially sponsored by Microsoft. So
Yeah, it's not official. Right? Say what I want.
Unofficially either, by the way.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you come out of this better. So this is good, and I'm having to get down. Plus, the missus is checking on me every day. Like, get your time in. The labs are excellent.
We have our
So-
guest actually chatting in the.
Yeah, our guest is already chatting in the chat.
Look at that. Front page of my first
part-time.
part-time gig. There you go. But hey,
So that's just
it.
evidence that we do have a guest tonight. However, we got to switch over to Brody.
Yeah,
Figure
Brody.
out- He's been confused. We'll figure out why, I guess.
Oh, I just was searching super timelines and I found a super timeline of Mario, 30 years of Mario. Look at this. Look how awesome this is. Nothing related to security whatsoever. That's the first thing that came up when I searched Edward's super timelines thing. Look at this. Look how sick this is. Look at that.
You mean
Oh, wow.
30 years of Mario?
I submit that there is a security
Mario.
story there, by the way.
Mario.
There is a security story there.
There's a security story in
There was
Mario.
a princess exfiltration.
Oh, yes. Yes. And finding the wrong castle yet again because you're doing a poor job of security. Yes. Excellent. Okay. I'm not going to put it. Don't click end stream. There we go. All right. What am I doing this week? All weekend it was renovations, painting and cutting trim and painting and more painting and arguing with my father-in-law on what pair of pliers he's actually looking for. Right? He's like, I need a pair of pliers. I'm like, here's pliers. He's like, no, those are these pliers. So anyway, I found out what his age bracket considers pliers. We learned a lot. We learned a lot this weekend. It was fantastic. We're redoing my office and the nursery renovations. On the way, baby. On the way. Yeah, good times.
Some folks who, been doing like real carpentry and handiwork, they call the tools different. There's another name for pliers. I forget what they used to call them. But when I would help my my father-in-law out, he would ask, or my uncle, he would ask for a straight blade, which what we call a flat head screwdriver. He said, bring me a straight blade screwdriver. I'm like, what's a straight
blade? I was thinking like an X-Acto knife. Oh, yeah. Or Andrea. Yeah.
I was like, what? A straight blade? Yeah. I was like, okay. So, but that's it. We got a guest in the show.
Yeah.
Hey, remind me at the end. We've got some things to talk about that's coming up. And then we want to talk about that product that will not see Copilot. So don't let me forget.
All right. Publisher.
But we do publisher. You're weird.
Still around?
You're confused. But we do have a guest.
Oh,
I'm going to bring this individual on stage.
Hey,
Josh Lanier. Josh is a buddy of mine. And I guess sort of first got at Microsoft, or he did, or we did. I was on the partner side. We met. And you'll not find a better TS at Microsoft. He's a good dude. It seems like everybody that's at Microsoft.
Yeah.
yeah. Hang on now. Hang on, Andrea.
Shade.
Andrea's my favorite TS, and
that's how you have. That's how you build. That's how you build. You build up a little contention, and they battle to the death. So, but Josh Lanier. I'll let you introduce yourself, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Edward. Thanks, team. So I'm Josh Lanier. I'm a security technical specialist in our health and life sciences vertical. So I know last week we had another security TS on. I focus mainly on this these days on the Defender stack, but my background is identity. I started out in identity support here at Microsoft almost 10 years ago, and kind of got to see that evolution from Azure Active Directory to where we're at today with Entra ID. So along the way, I've been able to meet a lot of folks, and Edward, when we crossed paths, that's when I was switching from support into this field role of, at the time, it was an identity technical specialist. And, you helped me ramp up on, MCAS at the time, Defender for Cloud Apps, and a number of other technologies. So, I always credit you with that. My first whiteboard session when I was in front of a customer was Edward, whiteboarding out what was Enterprise Mobility Suite at the time.
They kicked him out of there. So don't come back.
Well, it was my negative. It was my negative one day on the job, so I hadn't even started the job yet. And they said, "We're going to call in somebody to whiteboard this out. Take some notes."
You killed it, man. We did some good work back in the day. But hey, you're on the show. What do you want to talk about today?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Entra?
Intra. Sorry, if
I was just going to say, I can already explain to you about a TS because at least I know how to pronounce it properly.
Intra.
Wow.
It's not Arbok either. By the way.
Arbok.
Yep.
I know
It's
that guy who told me that is South African, so I make fun of him all the time. But okay, anyway, sorry, I'll stop trolling.
What I like to say, it's intra as in Nissan Sentra. So I have
Okay.
I have a license. I have a graphic of a Nissan Sentra, and I go, this is how you pronounce it.
It's
I love that.
Entra as in Commandos, and I have a picture of Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger saying it's Entra. So
That's the
it's
next
Entra.
commercial.
Yeah, it's a good commercial. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So you're in HLS, which is what is HLS?
Yeah, so HLS is Health and Life Sciences. So here at Microsoft, that is healthcare payers such as your insurance companies and providers such as your local physician, your healthcare system. But we also have life sciences, you and pharmaceuticals. So it's kind of an encompassing swath of accounts that are within that vertical, and that's the benefit there is we're talking to multiple customers, and we can kind of see trends. What are other healthcare providers running into, what are some challenges, and we can help target help for that vertical. So I've really enjoyed being in a vertical and learning about some of the challenges in healthcare and
Cool.
life sciences.
That's really cool, Josh. So would this include like future nanochip implants in your brain? And if so, how do we apply zero trust principles to that?
I have not ran across that yet. Every once in a while, there's a startup that comes in into incubation, and they might be working on that. But I've not ran across that one yet. But that would be an interesting use case.
Would.
So Josh, you were saying, you've learned a lot working with the healthcare and life sciences customers. Are there any security challenges that are unique to health and life care sciences that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, I would say not necessarily unique, but exacerbated. I feel like it's an increased risk in healthcare settings just because of the service they provide. And I was looking at a report this week, and ransomware is still one of the top threats that is impacting our healthcare customers. And a lot of media events. Earlier this month there was a children's hospital that was compromised, and it was kind of being a parent. It was kind of I'm reading things in a different light now, and reading about how physicians couldn't give care to kids and stuff. That kind of hit me a little bit. It made it real. And another thing that you see a lot more, I feel like, is the effects of ransomware. If it affects your healthcare provider, you're not going to get the care you need. So that's more highlighted. But I know ransomware is kind of it's hitting all verticals right now, but healthcare is being the most impacted, I feel like.
Well, before we split things out into those particular kind of industry verticals, I was covering a hospital here in Tampa, and the biggest struggle that I had with them was getting them to patch, because they would be like, this is a life-saving apparatus. I can't possibly patch this and maybe have it, not be able to come up. So that was always a huge struggle. So they were always behind.
Yeah. And that's because they tend to still use legacy applications that while you could patch the OS, it would break the app, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like publisher.
Andrea and Rod and I have been around long enough, you and Brody perhaps not, that there was an honor among thieves. Hackers did not go after healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
Just leave it alone. Education was one too. Everything else was open game, but you did not do that. We're so past that now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hitting the industry pretty hard, and the patching thing that brings back some memories of when I was in healthcare before coming to Microsoft. So my background is I started out as kind of a desktop admin. So I was helping out physicians, and it was an academic hospital. So I was also working with the academic kind of doctors as well. But it was a mix, and so I started out in desktop support, and I would see how they were actually using the systems. How they were doing studies and help, getting patient data and so on. And then as I grew in my career, I started doing patch management. And I remember walking into one of my employers, and it was Windows Server Update, WSUS, and when I saw the number of updates pending because of, hey, we can't take this offline, I was like, is this for real? Is this for real? And, luckily we were able to get that situation under control, the patching acumen and so on under control with, we were doing imaging, and, we helped mature that program. But it it did impact to a certain extent care, but that's what Windows and change management is for. So change management's kind of helped a lot of customers get past some of that, but there's still room for improvement.
I have memories of my dentist's office back in the day. Despite what Edward says, I'm greater than 10 years old. So I remember when hackers weren't attacking healthcare organizations. And I remember back in the day, just the old terminals, right? The old terminals that healthcare professionals would work on. And this is long before I was a professional. And I hear through the grapevine, because I don't work with HLS customers at all, unfortunately. And I love the mission that you're on, by the way, Josh. Help protect our kids. That's very important. So is it true or false? True or false? Are most healthcare organizations still on legacy operating system versions that are no longer supported by the vendors? Or are we moving into a new, better state now where vendors are upgrading apps, or we're doing a better job of being down level compatible with more legacy applications and more modern versions of operating systems?
Mm-hmm. I would say I've seen a shift, and I did take a brief break from healthcare, and I actually went into a different vertical at Microsoft. And during that break, I was thinking, okay, what do I want to come back into healthcare and into tech, be more technical. And when I came back into healthcare, it was 2 years. So I took a break for about 2 years from healthcare. And when I came back in, I started having that question, hey, are you on legacy operating systems? And what I've seen is it's actually decreased. So I think that some security programs have matured to go, hey, hey, vendor, the vendor for the CAT machine or the X-ray machine, if you're not on a supported OS, we're going to mitigate that. We're going to put you on an air gap or do some controls around that. So for mainstream, what's happening on the clinical system, that is, that's kind of went mainstream. Windows 11 is, being deployed and they're on updated branches. So that's been my experience with the customers that I support, is they are modernized for the most part on a modern operating system. And they're taking mitigating controls for their legacy systems.
Thank you. Happy to hear that.
My frustration with the way healthcare runs is that if you're in, and Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, they tend to want to predict their costs for 3 to 5 years, right? So when they buy a software package, they want to run it. They want to run it at, the end of life, and they don't really consider what it takes to run it underneath. Make no doubt, a lot of people just assume that healthcare systems are not for profit or nonprofit. They're not, right? The healthcare systems are raking in cash, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You don't see it downtrodden because a lot of these healthcare systems, while they're not publicly traded, they are making tremendous amounts of money, and it doesn't always filter down to the essentials. Yeah, doctors make decent, and nurses should make more, and all the supporting staff around that. But you often find that the IT systems of these places are always fighting and having to justify an upgrade or improvement to people who have zero concept of how the technology makes them better, right? And they handpick their board members to make sure they don't have that, prevailing argument inside that room to say, hey, I need money for this, until it happens to you, right? You know, you'll be surprised how much money healthcare makes, and they don't want to spend it and to do it, but they need to do it. It's I'm still seeing some old stuff, man. And I'm in Atlanta, where we have the baby factory up north called Northside Hospital. They call it the baby factory. Babies are in. They have people having babies left and right. You can imagine what will happen. I think 70%, Andrea, of people have their babies at Northside Hospital here in Atlanta, and and I say that not because Andrea's a woman.
I was just going to say, why is that interesting to me?
Because Andrea used to live in Atlanta, and she went to school here, right? So she knows, right? She knows Atlanta, and you can imagine a fallout if that happens, right? Yeah. But what challenges are you seeing specifically when you go in and doing what you do? Or I'll change the question here. Without saying a name, can you give an example of a healthcare entity that you support is doing it right? What they are doing, saying, "Hey, we got to get this right," because we get one time to get it wrong.
Yeah, I've seen customers who are they are architecting for the future. So they are adopting zero trust principles. They're going, okay, we can't live in this firewall anymore. We can't live behind the firewall anymore. We have to adapt. And that really woke up during the COVID epidemic. When that happened, I had customers right away starting to call and going, hey, I need to deploy Defender for Cloud Apps to do session control. I need to do constant evaluation here because I just can't keep up. And so I've seen customers start to open up to the idea of zero trust, and it's not just using intra ID. It's looking at other capabilities. Looking at they're looking at data protection as well as part of that zero trust. Hey, I need to actually start classifying my data. And so I've seen customers who are adopting the security and compliance tools, and they're starting to see the value in, okay, if I see signal here on this endpoint, and and I see signal from Defender for Identity, I can use the platform to take action right away. I don't have to wait on my analyst or my service, my third-party service to take action, with things like automatic attack disruption. I've seen customers actually start to implement that. And, we at Microsoft have seen, architectures and stuff of how this works, automatic attack disruption, but to actually see it in action with customers has been pretty awesome. And it's just adopting that XDR platform approach.
And vertical central ID.
And an automated action, Josh, right? I think the
Yep.
element, not only are we using the full stack, right? It sounds like, but taking automated action, because we can't wait. We can't wait for someone to be like, oh, geez, looks like some computers are being locked. Better get to that. Like, there's no time.
Yeah,
So
we need to get to that and isolate, and
yeah.
that's been really cool to see, is people adopting that. And I know one theme of the show is what's your favorite product, right? And it's not front page any longer, although that was a cool product, but it was I would have said Defender for Cloud Apps, a couple years ago. I would have said, hey, Defender for Cloud Apps is my absolute favorite. It's a jack of all trades, and it does a lot of cool stuff. But I would say with the addition of automated actions and ability to take action on identities, Defender for Identity is now my number one product here that I'm really telling customers to adopt.
Yeah, it flipped me between both. I'm not going to go to MDE. I'm going to flip between MDCA, and MDI, right? Because there was a prevailing, not a prevailing, but a marketing motion or so to say, could you have an enterprise organization and secure it properly without firewalls?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd love to hear our guests' comments on this, because is it possible? Because a firewall is nothing more than a packet inspection, these things, right? Maybe prevent some DDoS attacks and a few other things. But if you were to properly use a firewall, I would be more concerned with what's leaving, what is exiting my environment rather than what's coming in. Because a firewall is a firewall is a firewall. Intelligent, next generation, stateful impact. I've done them all, right? You're not going to stop anybody with a firewall, because you're letting the protocols and you're letting the traffic come in that they're compromising anyway. And I thought that every industry would have made a pivotal change to de-emphasize the firewall as one of their primary security mechanisms, because everybody's remote and everybody at home may not have a firewall, right? You got, so
yeah. I would say the unique challenge there is in the case of healthcare, you're always going to have somebody. We had our first responders were the healthcare professionals. During the pandemic, they did not leave the corporate infrastructure. That was, you're always going to have your clinicians, and then you're going to have your remote work folks where you can adopt, no firewall state, right? I mean, the device is managed. I'm really excited about the secure service edge coming out, global secure access, what that's going to offer. I mean, that I think is going to address some of the concern around the egress. Like, okay, now I can, protect that Microsoft 365 signal, in that tunnel, with secure service edge for Microsoft 365. So I'm excited where that potential lies, where we can kind of ease off on some of the control, or ease off on some of the all or nothing approaches that a firewall had.
Good call.
And
I got two follow-ups if you don't mind. One, do you find the healthcare organizations, they live in a pretty flat network architecture? Or is there a lot of segmentation going on behind the scenes to avoid, clinicians from accessing, customer patient data, that's not available to them, et cetera? And then the second question is, what's the prevalence of IoT devices that are being connected to the broader network now within healthcare organizations, and how do you secure those?
Yeah. So for that first one, the segmentation, I do see segmentation when it comes to the clinicians and their electronic medical records, the EMR system. Now, the false thought was that all my confidential data is in the EMR. Why would I deploy a classification, labeling, and protection technology? Well, that's now kind of being overrun by Microsoft 365 Copilot. You can't hide that data anymore. That's privileged or private. That's not in your EMR. So your medical records, I'm seeing that's in the EMR, and that's pretty locked down, and there's monitoring and control built into the EMR systems. But for the data outside of that EMR, that is still classification, labeling, and protection. That is where our customers are adopting that.
Nice. Okay,
yeah, and
cool.
for the second one with IoT, when that has come up around IoT, I do see network segmentation being used for that. So for the mature organizations, they are segmenting that off. So folks aren't coming in and plugging in a Raspberry Pi and getting data and so on, intercepting traffic. And that's kind of an older concept, because I remember, this was before I came to Microsoft, we were deploying 802.1x on wired connections. And so I remember ramping up on that, and that was something that was the late 2000s where they were adopting that. So network segmentation is still big internally for the IoT stuff.
I'm happy to hear that. It just to build on that, I would hate, ransomware sucks, data exfiltration sucks, right? But affecting a piece of equipment in a care facility would be the ultimate suck, right? That's really what we were thinking about here.
Brody stole both of my questions. Like, I could do that without a firewall if you have proper segmentation, within that, right? So people still have flat networks, which drive me crazy, right? Give me some broadcast boundaries, give me some routing boundaries, so that you can do these things, right? And you could have internal firewalls and ethical firewalls be able to do this, but firewalls are here to stay, because that's the thing, right? Put me a bastion host on something, put something in front of me, take the punches. So all the exploits that have happened with ransomware, did they not have firewalls? No. Yes, they did. So, but this is not the firewall episode. So are you still doing a bunch of identity stuff now?
Yeah.
Are you the go-to guy on your team?
Yeah. Well, one of a few. When I left, a lot of focus being put on XDR. When I left the security technical role, before moving roles, a lot of focus was on our XDR platform, which it still is. Our XDR platform now is an industry leader, and identity was kind of that commodity. Like, hey, everybody's got Azure AD, and it's been out for a while, and there's not a lot of conditional access. Everybody has conditional access, but now that things like secure service edge has been introduced, and capabilities like identity governance has matured, I'm seeing a lot more focus on identity. So I'm really getting back to my roots in identity, and I'm also learning new things. I was not an identity governance SME. I was always an identity and access management SME with ADFS and then Azure AD SSO. So I've been able to stretch myself a little bit to kind of dig into some of our new identity governance capabilities. And a good friend of the show, I believe, Randall, he's been really good at helping me ramp up on that.
Yeah, Randall, for those who know, Randall Irvin's been on the show. He's deep. He's really, really, really good.
He's solid.
Yeah, they do that stuff.
I feel like we need to hear from Mr. Trent. We haven't heard a peep out of him all day.
Rod, you're a host.
It's one of those.
Rod.
It's one of those things. This show only happens once a week at the very same time every week. But my manager was asking for things.
Oh, gotcha.
I got pulled away for a second. I'm back.
This is an active show. Anything could happen while we're in the show.
Anything, and usually does.
It usually does.
Do you have a question, Rod? Or do you want me to take your spot?
Go ahead.
Okay, Josh. Perfect. everybody still using AD? Are there any cloud native first healthcare organizations out there who aren't using an on-prem identity provider?
I'm seeing it in the life sciences space. So, kind of like that example startup you were saying earlier, those are the companies that I'm seeing start in the cloud because they're either coming off of a, divestiture. So they're leaving their traditional Active Directory space and they're like, hey, let's start afresh. Let's do Azure AD, Intra ID as our primary system with Intra ID join. I'm doing my find and replace here in my head.
Yeah.
They're able to do that, and then they're doing modern management with Intune. So, I am seeing that happen when it comes to divestitures. People are like, "Hey, we want to do this the modern way rather than carry over technical debt." So that has been exciting to see that journey. And for those that are still, lagging, I can't tell you, I've seen. I think in my current customer base, I have not seen ADFS pop up. So that's I know we want people to start moving to things like pass-through authentication and password hash sync. Those capabilities have really advanced since I was here the first time, and so that's been exciting to see customers go, hey, let's decommission this now that we have all the functionality we need in Intra ID.
I'm happy to hear that.
And HLS could force their vendors to modernize if they want they want to continue to do business with them. You can just go to one of these individuals and say, "Where's your SaaS application?" Because one of the drawbacks were people didn't trust the reliability of broadband or high speed connection to the internet. It's a commodity now. You can almost run an organization off your cell phone as a hotspot, right? With how dense internet connectivity is. Verizon is selling 5G and everybody's filing 5G, and you don't have a traditional, cable person. And so the excuse of, well, if the internet goes down, we won't be able to do anything. Well, that excuse doesn't sit.
But it's interesting, right? Because that could still happen, and that's actually a good point. How resilient are healthcare organizations that have decided to go with a cloud-first architecture and mindset, but still need to be resilient in case of a power outage, especially if they're providing critical services.
So, and that's why I say the life sciences ones are the ones I see moving toward that approach. Is they're more agile. The provider space, when IT department told me this, they were in a rural area, and I remember them telling me, they were like, we don't want to lose our authentication when somebody's got a drill in their head. And I was like, that is a good point, my friend. Good point. And that's where some of our resiliency story around Intra ID, some of the SLAs and some of the enhancements we've made around resiliency, that I think has really come a long way. So things like token lifetimes, the tokens last longer to mitigate some of that, if a user can't sign in because of a power outage or internet connectivity issue. So it's come a long way, but I haven't seen people convert totally off of that in the clinician space because of that reason.
You may not, because the providers who just need to do their job, they're not here to drive technology innovation. The doctor doesn't care. Does it work? All right, it works. Yeah. Let me do my job, right? Yeah. But it's a hard draw if you're a thought leader in the IT space, not even security space, IT space in healthcare, because it's the low hanging fruit, the path of least resistance, and just get it done, right?
Yeah, and the physicians are who are providing the care. I mean, at the end of the day, the patient is their customer, and they're providing care, and that I still carry with me what I before I came to Microsoft, that experience of being a desktop administrator. I would walk around the hospital floor, and you'd see Post-it notes with passwords on it, and it's like they're trying to do their job, but there wasn't a passwordless method at the time for them. So I see where you're providing service, but it's how to do that in a secure way. That's what we want to help them with is, okay, how do we be, it's like the secure productivity conversations we used to have with Enterprise Mobility Suite, except now it's secure productivity for the physicians and the clinical staff.
So name me one other function area other than HLS. I think HLS has got to be the toughest, but that would be as tough because you have to think about it. So if it's manufacturing, the factory goes down for a few hours or whatever, right? You lose revenue, you lose the ability to be able to ship stuff. But HLS, healthcare, that's life and death
What
scenario.
about
That has to be one of the most difficult areas.
the other most difficult area that absolutely took advantage of the pandemic, and take advantage is just a term to say, hey, you had to do what you had to do, was education. A lot of the teachers had to adapt, right?
Mhm.
Because their superpowers were to be in front of the child and provide, the education, but also that nurturing. Now you're
Mhm.
just 100% remote, but they adapted, right? And they got. I know it was rough at first, and so now you look at a new generation of teachers who are very technically savvy now. Even some of the
Mhm.
old heads that became very savvy about how they went about their business. Sometimes you need that kick in the butt externally to say to do that, right? Healthcare did not go remote. We saw the fallout of the pandemic versus healthcare workers who had to
Mhm.
come in,
Oh yeah.
and telehealth
Yeah.
still hasn't evolved to the point where it was threatening to still touch Philly of healthcare.
Mhm.
Education has proven, yeah, a snow day is not a big deal anymore. You're still going to school. You're just going to go at it from home now. Yeah, you're still going to school. You're going to do
Back
Yeah.
it.
and forth.
And so, but you need a pivotal tipping point or some sort.
Say
And
that
I don't know
again.
which one is going to force healthcare to have a massive modernization in the way they go about their business. I don't see it yet.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think that's where, talking about the challenges, right? I mean, I would say the only one that I would think of, like, as far as regulatory things and things impacting would be like our federal space. Like that's something that's, constant, getting constant attacks and, you know, they're powering, government infrastructure and things like that. But in healthcare, it's like we have that same amount of attacks coming in, as far as the ratio goes. There's attackers coming in attacking our healthcare institutions, but they have to adapt. They have to you know bring in the talent, bring in the right technology to combat the threats. Like that's something that I see people are waking up to. They're reading things from like the HISAC. I was reading a report yesterday from the HISAC, which does threat intelligence sharing for health institutions, and they were sharing, hey, these are the trends we're seeing. We're seeing ransomware be the number one. We continue to see RDP attacks, and getting that word out there, and now CISOs are starting to have more power at the boardroom. I'm starting to see that trend too, where CISOs are able to go to the board and go, "Hey, I
Mm-hmm.
need this to be secure." They can take that data and go, "Hey, I need to be more secure here. I need to know things like external attack surface management. I need to be able to know where am I vulnerable." And when I read reports like that and they go, "Hey, it's RDP," I go back to my intra identity days and I go, wait a minute, I remember having RDP gateways with MFA, the MFA plugin. That's something that I remember setting up in a lab 5, 6 years ago. And so they're starting to be more focused on the hygiene and, what are my colleagues doing? Like that's what I'm hearing a lot of is how do I measure up against my peers? What are some best practices that you can give me as Microsoft? And so I've really enjoyed having those conversations with customers just to say, hey, here's the art of the possible. You can take action and mitigate these threats.
And,
I
and
love
and
those
and to our
questions.
listeners of the show who may not consume Microsoft products in their job or some of the customers, it doesn't matter. These are just you know agnostic approach to be able to get stuff done. You said something that I said 3 years ago, and I said on the show when we show's almost 3 years old and before. I wouldn't take a CISO role unless I can come into the boardroom.
Hmm.
I don't want to report to
Yeah.
the CFO. I don't want to report to the CIO. I need to have my own budget and let you sit in the room. Because when ish hits the fan, the CISO neck suddenly manifests a dotted line around their neck, right? And then they get chopped, right? Um, and you're right. You're starting to see CISOs sit in the boardroom as an equal partner or equal person to whoever else has a C in their name to be able to get that work done. And that's a good thing, right? I don't even know why it's called CISO. I'm not just protecting the information; I'm protecting identity. It should just be Chief Security Officer,
Right.
CSO.
I've
Yeah,
seen
just a
that. I've
CSO.
seen
I've seen
title.
CISOs.
I've seen
Yeah.
titles, CSOs. That's the
Yep.
title. And I was reading a LinkedIn post the other day. It was from an HR recruiter. So it was a recruiter that recruits for executives and folks for healthcare institutions. And what they were saying is they're seeing an interesting insight. They have the CSO, but they're seeing more decision making being put on the directors of technology. So, the people that are actually, making the technical decisions are getting more power as well. Like, these are the tools. This is what I need to do to achieve our security goals. And I thought that was a very interesting insight. Like, they have to trust the more technical folks in the room, and they'll go get the funding, from the board. The CSO would.
Well, and I was just looking here real quick because there was a discussion about this a year and a half ago or something about the CISO was the highest attrition or the role that was vacated most often. I was looking here. It said 2021 there was a CISO shortage, and now there's like too many of them apparently. So yeah.
Well, nobody wanted a job, and
Yeah.
there was never a good succession path, a succession plan rather.
Yeah.
So now you're starting to see more deputy CISOs, and you still have that senior director that runs day to day. But you got to have a succession plan for the CISO who gets burnt out or gets blowed out or who just sighs, enough of this, so that other person comes. They understand the politics of sitting in that room, budget, all these things. But your senior director of security is the one that's really doing all the work, right? And you see it. And so now if a CISO leaves, instead of handing that over to the CIO who has no clue, or putting it down to the senior director who has no clout, you have that transition plan. I would love to see a place that has a CISO, deputy CISO, with a plan. I'm going to replace you, and a senior director who's getting his skills up to become a deputy. That you got to have that. Companies don't do that. They don't want to pay the money and all this other stuff. So,
Question. Good points, Edward. Good points. Okay, so in Canada, healthcare is run by the provinces. And so it's the mandate of the province to unilaterally manage all healthcare entities top down and pay taxes, blah, 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 blah. So there's no for-profit, but there is constant collaboration because they're all effectively one entity, right? So earlier you said, and I get this a lot with other customers, hey, Consultant Brody, what do other customers in my vertical do? Because it's like they don't sit down and talk to one another and collaborate.
Yeah.
They don't show up at the same conferences and have a internal roundtable about how they can get better amongst one another. How do you find that there in the healthcare and life sciences sector there is any type of collaboration between different entities, even though they're private entities and they have their private goals and ambitions to try to, raise all ships together and have a more secure overall ecosystem and work with one another on that?
Yeah, I'm seeing that. That's another culture change I've seen over the past, 5 or 6 years has been the more CISOs are going to like the Health Informatics Conference, HIMSS, which is going to be in Orlando in a few weeks. And so I'm starting to see more CISOs be represented there and security technical teams. And they're going and they're collaborating with others on panels and best practices. And they have regional meetups that they go to. And I'm actually trying to get into a few because I have friends from when I was in the industry that go to these. And I just want to go and keep sharp on the industry side of it. But there is a lot more knowledge sharing being performed. And I mentioned the HISAC earlier. They bring together members to talk about threats unique to healthcare, and it's a threat intel feed too that customers can use. Hey, this is a threat that we see attacking this member. Hey, let's share those indicators of compromise. So I see a lot more collaboration than I did 5 or 6 years ago when it was I don't want you to know what I'm doing because for whatever reason, because security is a team sport. Like, I think people are finally seeing that security is a team sport. We've got to work together to, in this case, help our patients.
Everything you said put a smile on my face. I'm happy to hear that, Josh. Thank you. Sorry, Ed.
Yeah, I see other industries. I had a discussion about this earlier today, where the industry that sort of seems to do it on a more formal basis is legal. These huge law firms talk to each other. They surely do. Even before a breach happens, they sit here and they share intel. hey, this is what I'm going through, or what product are you using, or doing this, or so and so. And if you don't have that, it is so informal that it's not effective a lot of times, but at least some things happen. And you said the informatics is coming up.
Yeah, the and I always get the words confused here. I think it's HIMS. Yeah, HIMSS 2024. That's coming up. We're gonna have a Microsoft presence there. It's March 11th through the 15th. So yeah, and it's health. Yeah, HIMS. Health
Hymns,
informatics and
It's hymns. Yeah.
hymns,
HIMS. I always say HIMS. I say HIMS.
hymns. I've heard of that.
HIMS.
Yeah, I heard it's a hoot too. After all the sessions are over too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Healthcare Information and Management Systems Society. That's what it
yeah.
is.
Well, great,
Yeah.
great.
Awesome link
So
we just put in the chat there. Enjoy that,
we
everybody.
got 5 minutes left. I got
Little better.
one more question, and I want to get
Yeah.
back to the trivia question. Um, of the Defender stat, what would bring the most bang to the buck if you got one meeting and whomever's in charge say, hey, you get to deploy one product to convince me to go ahead and deploy this stuff. Which one are you going to deploy in
Mhm.
there?
Yeah. I said Defender for Identity, and I'm going to stand by that because, you said Defender. I'm going to make let's say they're using Intra ID for their cloud identities. The story now for, our identity threat detection and response, if you add Defender for Identity to that stack of Intra ID, you're going to have that identity protected, and that's going to protect that identity. And, most of these threats start with an identity. So getting that visibility and actions now with Defender for Identity,
Yep.
that's the one that I'm going to say is going to provide the most value. And I've seen that happen. I mean, when I would talk to healthcare CISOs, they would talk to me and go, "Hey, Josh, I had a pen tester come in, a couple months ago, and it was, they were able to pass the ticket, or they were able to do an identity attack on my users and gain domain admin." And Defender for Identity now can contain that threat. So, again, from hopefully for the most part, you're going to be able to block those attacks, using Intra ID conditional access, and that's going to provide you alerting and so on. But when it hits the fan, attacker gets in, you want to contain that threat, and Defender for Identity is going to provide that bang for the buck.
I forget how I asked the question, but you're right. Value wise, I was more looking for eye candy, and I would still say running MDCA and then producing an executive report to say, look at what is happening on your devices in your hospital at lunch. Everybody's going on a Tinder break. Everybody going on a Bumble break, right? They doing all these things.
Well, I would say that too. I mean, in that same meeting where we talked about Defender for Identity, Defender for Cloud Apps, I lit that up during that meeting, and right away it was this spreadsheet shared externally with 13 external recipients. And I looked around the room and I said, "Hey, does anybody know who those 13 people are? That shouldn't be shared externally, Josh." And so if you want to get the eye candy and do that, yes, like that, Defender for Identity is going to take some time to set, take some time to, you're going to have to pen test against that. But if you want to see, where your data is, you want to see what threats are coming in, just all the signal going into Defender for Cloud Apps is going to provide that. And, one more thing real quick on Defender for Cloud Apps. I learned something new yesterday from one of my support friends who supports Defender for Cloud Apps. The new hunting experience in XDR, in the Defender platform, some of the queries you can do there against Defender for Cloud Apps, it's phenomenal. And so I've been reading up on some of the KQL that you can run against it, and
It's really good.
It's been pretty awesome.
Because a lot of the Yuba behavior alerts are not alerts anymore. They made them no, you're not alerts, they're behavior somethings or another. So they wanted to get rid of the false positive from impossible travel and some of this other stuff. So since they got rid of all of those false positive potentials, now you can hunt against it effectively. Right? I've been playing in it too. It has changed. Right? It has changed a lot. If you haven't just gone in and get down to the nitty gritty, it's changed. But hey, we're at 1 minute out, so we're gonna ask the question one more time. Oh, bro, you had a question?
No, trivia. Yeah, do it. What's the trivia
Oh,
question?
the trivia. It's trivia.
All right, last chance. Yeah.
What is one of the productivity products in M365 that does not have Copilot capability and will not?
And will not. Okay. Well,
because
first
it might
off,
potentially be a security issue.
Because of
Oh.
security issues.
okay.
Think about it. Think, ding, 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 ding.
I mean, I was just
Well,
checking all of them right now, and I've got.
That's
I mean, I have
It's
questions.
a
what I
trick
was doing.
question. But just run through them. What do you use every day?
Copilot for Copilot.
I use
Copilot for
OneDrive
Copilot.
every day.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I don't see it in OneDrive. I don't know why I would use it in OneDrive.
No.
I mean, I probably just
Yeah.
can't think of nothing. I
Yeah.
don't see it in SharePoint yet.
All right.
M365 queries.
What? Yeah, just ask Copilot. Hey,
Ask
Copilot.
Copilot.
That's what I was
Yeah.
going for.
Trying to do.
While we're waiting for that, by the way, don't
Delve?
forget, next month is Women in Cyber, and we have 2 shows a week next
Yeah.
month.
2 whole shows
get
a
ready for
week.
that.
And
The
we
following
had to
month
sort
is
of
Partner Month, leading up to RSA, which we're going to focus on Copilot for security partners.
Partner Month is April. We're going to be trying to put together a show with partners that have a skin in the game on how
One
Copilot
other
affects them.
thing I think is super important that everybody should know: the MSI crew, we are branching out. We are doing Learn Lives for Copilot for security next month. So I'll supply the link in the show notes, but we will actually be somewhere else on camera besides
The show.
Let's learn live, Rod.
a
Yeah,
Learn
Rod.
Live is an event where a couple hosts talk about one of our learn paths, and we just this week released our very first Copilot for Security learn path. So there's 4 modules, and we will actually, because of the 4 modules, be doing a show or an event for each module. So expect 4 shows next month on Copilot for Security. It's about a 45-minute deal, interactive. You can stop by, ask questions. We'll have moderators on hand to answer those questions. If they can't answer them, then we'll fire them.
The
on the spot.
Copilot. We're firing the Copilot. Yeah, let's do the Copilot thing.
All
All
right.
right,
So what's,
time's up. Do we
what's
want to
the
get the
last-
answer out? Nobody
what's
got
the
it?
answer?
Yeah, let's go.
Trick question.
What is it?
One-
Say it.
OneNote.
What is it?
OneNote.
OneNote. Yeah.
It's in OneNote. I just checked
It
OneNote.
is.
I have it in OneNote
Yeah,
right now.
I was thinking OneNote, but then I saw it's there.
Where in
Right there.
OneNote?
It's
It's
over on the far right of the desktop client.
It's not
Was it
lying.
last
I can
week?
see it too.
So
Yeah.
you guys are using the cloud one. I tried to
No.
use it on the on-premise.
No, I'm on the on-prem version.
You sure?
I'm sure. I got it
Take that.
right
Let's
here.
check, Rod, because we saw the thing.
I don't have it. I don't have it.
Oh, Rod doesn't have it. Oh,
I don't have it.
Oh,
I
and when
have
we
it.
read the
Andrea
stuff, they said they
it.
would.
Oh,
Let's see if
Rod
it's in
doesn't
there.
have
I
it.
don't believe Andrew and I don't believe Josh. They're in cahoots. They're TSs. They can't be trusted.
Hey,
Oh my God. Okay.
File
Okay.
account. Go to file account update. See if you got any updates.
Look, I can show. Yeah, I can take a screenshot because I
Take
want
a
to show you
screenshot.
all my notes.
I don't think you know what Copilot is yet. So.
I need to take the learning
There.
path.
Noodle has Copilot in OneNote.
Oh,
Okay,
so they
there
did.
you
Yeah.
go.
Noodle's got it. I've got it. But you know what? I was clicking on Delve, my old friend, and I completely
Yeah.
distracted me because now I'm reading
I
every
love
one of the
Delve.
documents.
Yeah.
So Delve, I mean, that would be a fun one where you're just kind of like
Ooh,
asking
wait a
Copilot to
second.
like
Let me-
peruse
Let
across.
Didn't I
me
read?
not-
Isn't Delve going away though? Isn't Delve also going the way of the Dodo?
I don't know. I
I'm
don't
pretty
know.
sure
But
some
I'm
Oh,
form
reading
of
no.
all
Delve.
kinds of documents I didn't know I had access to right now, and it's great. It's great.
Ask
Oh, no.
Copilot to summarize those documents.
Brody, shh.
What? It's a
Yes,
product. I don't know.
Delve is set to retire December 2024.
Okay.
So we were wrong on the show. Me, you were right or wrong, Rod, because
Well,
we were
you
looking
were
at it
wrong,
and go,
Edward.
hey, they can't do it. But I
So
am running
there's-
the old version.
You're running the desktop version. So
I'm
there's
running
2
desktop
different
version.
versions. Yeah.
But Josh just said the desktop version has it, so you
I-
guys
I
just don't
have
have
the
the
desktop.
cool stuff. You
Yeah,
guys
I've got the desktop version. Now I would say planner, not planner. Yeah, Microsoft Planner would or what's Project? Project. Does Project have Copilot? 'Cause
Oh,
that would
yeah.
be a big one.
I haven't used Project in a while.
I haven't used Project in
Yeah.
a long time. I mean, I could say I haven't used
Yeah,
Publisher.
that would be one where it'd be valuable, I think,
So
with all the
all of
project things
that-
people do.
And we
Well,
got
I
it
am
wrong.
using OneNote for Microsoft 365. So I don't know.
Yeah,
if
that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah,
that
I'm using an old
found
one.
it.
Okay, Noodle brings something up, and I like Visio doesn't have it, but man, wouldn't that be cool? Hey, make me an architectural diagram of X.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
that would be
that'd be
I don't
cool.
think Vizio is going to be around much longer. I mean, they haven't updated since 2021. Do you know how hard it is to get
Over here.
Vizio? I tried to
it's
download
easy.
today.
You go to the site and you download it.
I'm
Go
looking
try
for
it then,
Copilot for
Brody.
weird science.
I will. I'll go download it right now.
Go do it.
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
got it.
Andrea and I actually have all the latest stuff, so we know how to do this.
It must
You
be.
guys suck.
Yeah.
You guys suck real big.
Yeah, I can't get anything right. Like this.
Alright.
Yeah, I am running.
Portal.office.com, right, Andrea? And then
Let's-
you
let's-
download
let's-
Vizio. It's pretty
Let's
easy.
start this episode over.
Yeah.
That's fine. Hey,
This is great.
we figured out that we were wrong, Rod, on a product and right on another. I didn't know Dell was getting ready to bite the dust, but Vizio,
Huh.
it's Vizio Pro is expensive. It's like $600 in it.
What's
Wow.
going
Yeah.
on with Microsoft Bob?
I make work
Anybody
pay
know?
for it.
Oh, I've got a Microsoft Bob sticker on my laptop now.
Do
It's
you?
in the store.
Yeah, I'm using an old version of Note. That's probably why it is. And maybe we read it, Rod. That's why they're probably saying this version. Yeah, they're not going to do it now. If you go to the cloud when I see it.
It's okay, Edward.
Yeah.
It's your first mistake ever, right? There goes your streak.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool though. And then I'll open up some old stuff. But anyway, so there's no winner. We knew that. That's why we made sure that you guys wouldn't get a prize. We just wanted you guys to do that, right? So this was planned. But
Gotcha.
yeah, gotcha. Dude, if I ever worried about how many times I was wrong. Hey, I give you something. Do you want to be right or do you want to be married? There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
Dang.
Yeah, absolutely, dear. I'm wrong. There you go. Josh, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Healthcare, man, they lucky to have you. You do the thing. It's not an easy, industry to try to get. They still have a lot of legacy thinking, and some of it's justified and some of it's not. Right? It's hard to do that when you use the fear. Well, if we get it wrong, people lies and this and yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
You put enough money at something, you just buy one of everything else and then switch it over. Yeah, I know it's not cost effective, but you get it done, right? So
We'll get them there.
instead of updating machines, we'll just buy a separate one right next to it and get everything, build a whole separate network and do it. Cut the switch. If it doesn't right, switch it back and we go.
And props to Josh and everyone else who works in healthcare and life sciences.
Yes.
Oh
and
yeah.
security,
Yeah, great
because
team.
that's
Yeah.
very important. So
And
I'm glad
especially
you're
to
doing
Rod.
it. Yeah.
Rod is a big supporter of St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So am I. And I would pull hair out of my head if I heard something had attacked them and got access to the stuff that they need to take care of those kids who have particular medical issues, mainly centered around cancer. Right. That would really So,
Yeah.
But anyway, man, thanks a lot. Thanks to the show.
thank
Next
you.
week, I forget who we have. We're doing it on 28th because that's not the last day of the month, oddly enough, this year. So we'll keep it going. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Next
And,
week is Dan Chemistry.
Oh
Is that how you
shit!
put it?
Yeah,
Did I pronounce his name?
yeah. We got an MDE guy coming on who does threat hunting. He's a threat hunter
Oh
type
wow,
of guy.
yeah.
He's a threat hunter.
does
No,
he have the
but-
latest version of OneNote?
He probably doesn't.
Not
Hey, I'm
fast.
going to put it on my stuff now. I don't know why. I actually run both of them.
Really?
So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Let's do it.
See you on the other
Bye.
side.